Hey, my magical friends. Welcome to another Witchful Ways podcast episode. I am Annika, offering you insight, guidance, tools to live a magical life every single day. So this episode, let's talk about divination, one of my all-time favorite things, right? I am all about intuition, divination, and candle magic, again, with sigils thrown in there. So as my favorite means of connecting and working. So last week, or in the last episode, we talked about how people connect, right? How they see and hear their information, their intuitive abilities, how they open those up, and how you can start to become more directed in creating a language with the universe, or with, universal language energy flow, so that you can better understand the information that's coming into you. If you're just starting out in your discovering your intuition and uncovering your personal skills and talents, which we all have them, and you haven't already, please make sure that you head over to witchfulways.com. There is a free resources page that you can go to where you can get all kinds of great guides, and you can take a look at some of the candle magic things and how to connect with spirit guides and all that good kind of stuff. And you can also check out my courses there, one of them being Discover Your Intuition, which is a deep dive into discovering your psychic and or mediumship abilities. So that's what we talked about in last episode. So now let me talk about the ways that we get things, right? We talk about readings. We talk about divination. Divination simply being the practice of divining information, right? Receiving information and deciphering it through your universal language, in being able to gain insight, guidance, answers to questions for yourself and or for people that you're reading for. And there are multiple different ways or modalities that people use to divine. And that is a personal preference, right? So I'm going to talk about 6 of them today. And these are the most common ones that I've used in my own practice through my last 40 plus years in working and in practicing and working with my own divination skills and talents and techniques. And these are probably some that you are very familiar with. Number 6, I'm going to start backwards here because I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the top 2 or top 3. Number 6 is dowsing rods. Now, dowsing rods are really simple to make at home, and they're a lot of fun too. You can make if you're not aware of what they are, they're literally 2 pieces of metal that are at a 90-degree angle, bent at a 90-degree angle, with one side being longer than the other. One side's held like a handle and the other one is straight out. Kind of a weird way to try and explain it. A quick Google search will show you what they are. So if you take, and when I had my brick and mortar store, we used to do this on our divination evenings, you will take a metal hanger, and you can even take very stiff beading wire, right? Like metalwork, like jewelry, metal wrap, right? Wire. But we always took metal hangers because they were abundant. And you can use those. Take wire cutters, right? And you're going to create this little thing. Then all you need to do is with the metal handle, because it has to be able to swerve back and forth, right to left, freely in your palm, but you still have to be able to hold it, right? So a great way that we used to do this was to actually put beads, right? Like Pandora style beads where you have a bigger center so that your metal piece can stick through it. If you glue those together into the length of a handle and then place the metal rod short part handle into those beads, and allowed the dowsing rod to then be able to move back and forth freely, but you could still hold it level and all that good stuff. So they originally were made so that people could find water to build their wells. And now they are used to as a divining, as a form of divination, where you can ask questions, yes and no. You can try and find things, right? So if you're missing something in your house, you've misplaced it, the fairies took it, whatever it is, you can pick up your dowsing rods and you can walk towards areas, and they will cross over each other when they are giving you answers or directing you. And again, you're going to program them pretty much like you would a pendulum or anything else. So those are dowsing rods, really inexpensive to make from things that you have at home. And they're really fun to work with. And kids love them as well, because there's really nothing more than holding them loosely and freely, asking your questions, or walking slowly with them, making sure that you keep them level. So they can be a lot of fun for family pagan nights and, rituals. Number 5 that I love to do, is because it's delicious too, is tea leaf reading. Tea leaf reading is really simple, and you can get some beautiful cups, right? This is my favorite part of a lot of the tools that I use, is finding things that really resonate with you. When you find something that just sings to you and you're like, yes, this is a perfect cup for me to do my tea leaf readings in, because they're absolutely beautiful, right? So tea leaf reading is a little bit more in depth, and it's something that you're going to use a lot of intuition with as well. And we do use our intuition with all forms of divination as well. But with tea leaf reading, you simply take loose leaf tea, prepare it into a cup, loose. You don't put it in like a little container thing, a tea holder. It's loose. Let it seep, and then you enjoy your tea as you're sitting there and talking. If you're doing a reading for somebody else, you both can enjoy a cup of tea as you're talking, or you can simply enjoy your cup of tea alone with the intention of asking the question or finding out the insight and guidance that you wish to receive with your tea leaf reading when you're done with your tea. So when you're done with your tea and you have just a very little bit of tea left in the bottom, what you do is you take your tea saucer and put it on top of your teacup, and you turn the whole thing upside down, kind of like when you're taking a cake out of a cake pan onto a flat surface, right? You flip it upside down. So your cup is upside down on top of your saucer. Then you're going to spin it clockwise 3 times. And then you're going to pick your teacup up. The tea leaves, or the loose tea, whatever you've used, the tea leaves are going to remain in your cup. And some of them will be on certain parts. So a lot of people will read that the part with the handle is the past and the part opposite from the handle is the future, right? Or there's all kinds of different ways. But again, with any kind of divination, you're going to make sure that it is known beforehand what the answers are going to mean, or where I shouldn't say what the answers, where the placement of whatever it is that you're divining, whether it's wax reading or tarot cards or pendulum or whatever, right? You understand that if it's on the part by the handle, then that's going to mean the past. If it's opposite of that, that's going to mean the future, right? If it's above that or to the left of the handle, that's going to mean, one thing. If it's to the right of the handle, you decide that before you start ever. So that way universe and spirit knows where to place things so that you understand, or so that it's in the right area, right? Because if we just go, okay, flip it upside down, twirl it, and now pick it up and now decide, well, you're going to get inaccurate readings, because the universe or spirit does not know where's the table that I'm working with, right? Where am I supposed to put what, so that you can understand it? Okay. So you will then, with a tea leaf, look at or for different symbols. And again, this is where universal language comes into play, right? So if you didn't listen to the last episode, listen to that. But this is where universal language comes into play. So you may see a number 7, and a number 7 means great luck for you. And it's in the future area of your teacup, right? So that means there's going to be luck in your future. You may see a heart. You may see an anchor. You may see a smiley face. You may see, like whatever the symbols are and wherever they hit on your cup is going to give you your reading. Now, there are cups that you can purchase online. I've seen them that are made with distinctive areas so that it makes it easier for you every time to look, and, it's divided up inside the cup where it says past, present, future, whatever. So that is tea leaf reading. And there is a lot of, again, information that you can just Google search online. The next one that I want to talk about is pendulum. And I feel that we all understand what a pendulum is, right? It is simply something that's weighted on the bottom, held up by a string, whether that's a ring, whether that's a fancy pendulum that's made, out of gold and amethyst or whatever it is. It's simply something that is able to swing freely, plumb and hang plumb straight down from a string. And then you're going to ask your question. You're going to program your pendulum. You can ask all kinds of different things with your pendulum. You can ask about time frames. You can ask about areas of your home if you are looking for something within your home. If you're looking for a new home maybe to purchase, you can actually have an area of your city that's written down on a piece of paper or drawn out on a piece of paper, and use your pendulum to find out what area is going to work best for you or where's going to be your dream house, right? Same thing if you're searching for a car. Same thing if you're looking for a yes/no answer, or if you're looking for, like I said, a time frame or a year. When was my last lifetime here? And you can have the centuries back on a piece of paper and use your pendulum for that. It's amazing. So people say then, of course, what's moving the pendulum? Well, you are moving the pendulum without a doubt. Your muscle movement is moving the pendulum. But what's happening is that muscle movement is being contracted, if you will, by the energy that's coming through from spirit. So that's how it kind of works, right? It flows through, without going into much further detail. It just generally flows through you from your higher self and allows your own minute muscle contractions and movement, because it's energy, right? It's electric. That's energy, swings it the way that you have programmed it to be, up and down for yes and back and forth for no, or whatever it may be, circles and, back and forth, whatever you program it to be. I believe if you go to the free resources page at witchfulways.com, there is a full working with a pendulum lesson in there. So go check that out. The next one I want to talk about is scrying. And especially black mirror scrying. I freaking love, I have a black mirror that I made from when I was 14 years old, and I still use it to this day. If you've seen some of my lives, you've seen it on the wall behind me hanging. The scrying is basically allowing your mind to become unfocused and then allowing your eyes to become unfocused or soft focused as well onto a reflective surface. It doesn't matter what that reflective surface is. It can be a black mirror. It could be a bowl of water in a dark dish, right? So that you can see reflection. It can be anything that you can get a reflection of. There is, black obsidian, right? Like little discs that you can use. You can scry with crystal. You can scry with flames. Even though flames aren't reflective, they can still give you movement and create pictures, if you will, right? Or symbols, if you will, that you'll be able to see. So scrying is simply that. It is an unfocused focus on the surface that's going to allow you to receive messages again through however you receive messages best, your information best. Oftentimes it is that all of a sudden you have that feeling or that seeing of the symbols, right? So especially with flame scrying, we do this all the time when I have my fire pit going and you take a look at the flames and you see them dancing, and you may see a ballerina, right? Or you may see a face, or you may see an angel wing, or you may see anything that happens to come and go in the flicker of the flames. So this is scrying. Black mirror scrying I love, again, because it gives you that really focused area to be able to look into or gaze into, but I use mine with a candle in the background so that when I'm looking at my black mirror, my scrying mirror, I can see the candle flame, but I'm not actually looking or focusing on that flame, right? It's just kind of a place for me to make sure my eyes are in that way, in that area, right? And then you simply unfocus the eyes and soften the attention and allow the information to come through. And that can be an entire session for you. Black mirrors, the ones that I have in my shop, are handmade by me. I've been making them again. I made my first one when I was 14 years old. And the recipe, or the way that and I want to say this, any black surface is going to be fine. In this day and age, you could take a 55-inch TV, or smaller or bigger, whatever, one of the flat screen TVs, and you can use that as a scrying area. Because when you have it turned off, it is black. It tends to be reflective. Have a candle lit behind you. Sit in between the candle and the screen of your TV so that you can see the candle, right? And then just sit in the quiet, or have your, Google or Alexa or whatever, playing some instrumental music, some soft music, whatever works for you, right? White noise, whatever it is, you can use that. Traditionally, and this with the black mirrors that I make and have in my shop, which I think I'm sold out right now, but I've got some more coming up in the next moon phase. New moon's coming up next week. I use the traditional or the special ink on the back. It's not just let's spray paint it black and it's a black mirror, right? Even though I know that's how some people sell them. I don't. I actually use a traditional recipe that is black ink that has been steeped with mugwort, a couple different other herbs, and some specific crystals. So that, and done through ritual and created in ritual, so that there is that connection and that magical energy that's brought into your divination piece as well. And I do the same thing when I'm working with pendulums or creating pendulums, right? Those things are always in my tradition. I love to create the magical tools. So black mirror scrying, or scrying in general, is amazing. The next one that I want to talk about is spirit dice. I love spirit dice. If you guys have seen, and I don't know, I think most people that are in the alternate, religious path or belief path, system path, have seen the Conjuring movies. And I'm sure you've seen spirit dice used in the Conjuring movies. And when that movie came out, I had this surge in spirit dice that went out the door because, again, I create them, right? And I have them in my shop. Spirit dice, I have a set of 18. Mine specifically are a set of 18. And the reason that I do 18 is because over the years I have crafted them, and I've been selling them online since 2018. I've come to work on my own set and using them. And each time that I create them, right, it's done through ritual. So I actually use them, connect them, right? Those kind of things, imbue them. And I've discovered finally that the set that I have, that is 18 dice, set of 18 dice, the lettering on them are very specific so that those 18 are able to create the most combination of letters to words in your sessions, right? You can't just take, any 9 dice and throw some letters on them. I mean, you can, but you have to make sure that you have the right amount of this and that letter, right? T's and R's and things that we use more of to be able to make the most words. So spirit dice, you take those into your hand. You will use them to ask questions. They can be yes, no questions. They can be open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are wonderful for spirit dice because it allows you to continuously ask the next question to be able to get the next word for the answer, right? So if you get, is anyone here, right? And you throw the dice or you drop the dice, depending on which way, you can either roll them like you would Yahtzee dice, or you can drop them straight down, which is what I tend to do. Not from a high height, right? Like you don't want them flying all over. And you see a yes, great. Now you can pick them up again. Can you tell me your name? Drop the dice, see what comes up, right? Or you can ask, how did you die, right? And they tell you, and then you can drop them again after asking what age they were, right? Or whatever it is. So you can continuously ask questions for investigations, for connecting with spirit in general, for connecting with your own spirit team and spirit guides and guardian angels and all that, your entire team. It's amazing because again, you are getting visual response to your questions. And sometimes that's a lot easier for divination and for readings than it is just to, okay, this is what I think I felt, or this is what I think the information came across is, right? So we're still, again, using intuition in all of them, in all of the different modalities, but with the ones where you get definite visual cues, such as this is a word that is spelled out for me. I cannot deny this, right? Kind of like so spirit dice can be an alternate to a Ouija board, but all forms of divination are basically the same, right? Ouija board just happens to be very well known, and I create Ouija boards and love them, but they tend to be very well known. And they tend to sometimes have negative connotations to them, even within the own divinatory field, right? Those people that do readings or are diviners, right? They have divination. It's a modality for divination, but you will have a very cut and dry, yes, Ouija boards are okay, or no, Ouija boards are not okay, right? But somebody that has I don't like Ouija boards may be just fine with a pendulum or with scrying or with tea leaf reading or with any of the other modalities, right? It really is a personal preference, and it's really from our own experiences that we derive what it is that we're comfortable with. And that's how it should be. I'm always all about you do you, witchy poo. So spirit dice tend to be an alternate to Ouija board, or very much more portable when it comes to, and faster to use when it comes to being out doing investigations or hauntings or whatever it is. But they're also amazing, again, to use to connect with your own spirit team, because it gives you very definitive answers or insight or guidance, right? Should I take this new job? Should I move to Elm Street or Brick Street? Should I, adopt a new dog? What is going to be the next car that I buy, right? Like whatever it is that you need to know, you can get with your spirit dice. And you can ask of your own specific spirit team. You can use your dice just as you could any of the modalities to connect with any spirit that's around you, what I call wandering spirits, right? To connect with spirit when you're out in investigations and hauntings, or to connect at home with your own loved ones and guides. Spirit dice, I love them. I have them available in the shop. Check them out if you've never heard of them before. Then the next one that I want to talk about is cards. I think that's the most popular, right? I'm going to put an extra one in here, and that is wax reading. I love wax reading because I do a lot of candle magic. I love candles. I think candles are one of the easiest and least time-consuming ways that you can not only cast a spell, but that you can also change the energy within a room, and that you can also be able to use for divination. So wax readings is simply allowing your candle, make sure that it's a dripping candle, because a lot of candles nowadays are dripless, right? A dripping candle, and you allow it to burn. And then as the candle wax spills out or over, so say you have a taper candle, right? And it burns down, the pool of wax on the bottom, you then look at that and divine with it and go, okay, what symbols do I see? You may see like maybe a heart, you may see an embryo, you may see, like whatever it is, a house, a car key, right? Anything like that, any kind of symbol you may see in that wax. So that's one way. The other way is if you have like a tea light, or a divination candle. You can use any candle, remember, but you can have a divination candle that's in a jar that you light with the intention only to be used for wax readings. So you know that that is what it's part of your magical arsenal. It's separate from your mundane world. It's not just a regular candle, right? So then you're going to set yourself up. You're going to allow that. You're going to light that. You're going to sit and contemplate, maybe visualize, maybe meditate, know what it is that you're asking for, the area of concern that you're asking about or that you need guidance in, and then have a bowl of cold water. Shallow bowl, cold water. And then after you have a complete pool on the top of your candle, which usually is about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, right? If you've got a 4-inch, diameter candle, then you can actually pick up that candle and you can dump the pooled wax into the cold water. It'll set and harden right away. You pull that piece out and you take a look at that. And again, what does it look like? Does it have anything in it? Sometimes there's bubbles that are created that look like letters, right? All those good things. So that's an extra one I'm going to put in there because I love doing that, especially when I find some fanciful little candle and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be the perfect candle for divination. So again, the last one that I want to talk about then, number one, I think we're most familiar with is cards, card readings, whether that is tarot cards, oracle cards, angel cards, gypsy cards, lemron cards, tea cards, right? Whatever it is, we are reading cards. So let's talk about the difference between tarot and oracle really quickly. Tarot cards are a set number of cards that always have the same meaning to them. Now, the meanings of those cards in comparison to other cards will change as they're placed in the reading, right? So for it being in one spot in one reading for one person, it's going to mean one thing, like the, two of swords, right? Or something. It's going to mean one thing. But when you go into your next reading, it's going to be in a different position surrounded by different cards for a different person. So that 2 of swords, it may mean something completely different in the context of that reading. But the meaning of the card itself remains the same. Okay. Tarot is a structured, this is what this card means. Let's memorize all 72 cards, and work with them in different patterns for layouts. Oracle cards can be anything. Oracle cards can be any design, any number of cards. They don't have suits or they can have suits. Like they can have words on them. Maybe they don't have words on them. Whatever it is can be oracle cards. Oracle cards are very much more open-ended. Oracle cards, I feel like you need a little bit more intuition to work with. I feel like if you're very visual and you have beautiful oracle cards, you will be able to do readings so easily just from the vision that comes through. So if you have a beautiful card that has maybe a garden scene and it has, roses and sunflowers and daffodils and birds on one card, when you do your readings, in this reading, the roses may stand out on that card. And then you're going to fall back onto your universal language. What do roses mean? What does that card or that context mean within the entire context of the reading, right? Or maybe on the next one, it's the same card, but the daffodils stand out. So you're going to use your universal language that way, right? Oracle cards can use the same spreads as tarot, or they can be completely whatever it is that you want to create in a spread. Again, remember, when you're doing any type of divination where there's placement of anything, as I talked about, like with tea leaf reading, when you're using tarot cards and oracle cards and angel cards and gypsy cards, you have to know what the positions mean that you're laying down. If you've got 3 cards, 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be past, present, and future, right? Or maybe it's current, what needs to change and the outcome if that change occurs, right? But it's going to be, you have to know before you put those cards down, what spread you're using. What do those positions mean? Okay. So oracle cards, again, can be any number. They can be much more open-ended. I tend to use my intuition. I don't know I do now after all this time, but I don't adhere to when I'm using a tarot deck. I use it intuitively. And the same thing with my oracle cards. I have yet, probably in the last 10 years, I have not looked at or maybe browsed through when it was brand new to me, the booklet that comes with them, right? And here's the reason is because when I purchase tarot cards or oracle cards, again, because I'm very visual like that, I like them to be very decorative, very illustrative, right? Even my tarot cards are very illustrative. My favorite tarot cards were given to me for a birthday gift when I had my brick and mortar by a wonderful friend named Tammy. And she gave me Black Cat Tarot. And I love them. They're still my go-to for tarot. Why? Because they are so descriptive in their illustration that I don't need to know what the card, I don't need to know that that's the Two of Swords, right? The picture on it is what I'm using. So you can use tarot cards as an oracle reading, okay? So then we have angel cards. Well, what's the difference with that? Well, angel cards are meant to connect with angel energies, right? So they're the same thing. They may have different sets of, there's no, nothing to memorize for meanings. There's no direct set number of cards that a deck should be. There isn't specific meanings to specific cards always. So again, in tarot, this deck compared to the next deck, you can have 52 different decks of cards from 52 different authors and illustrators. And each one of those 52 decks, the Two of Swords means the same thing, has the same backbone meaning. Okay. When it comes to oracle and angel cards, completely different. Again, more open, more intuitive. They tend to be more illustrative, so that you can use your intuition more into what does this card specifically mean during this reading and within the entirety of the reading. Okay. But angel cards, again, will have more angel, obviously, illustrations to them and will be created to connect to angel energies. So when I said, and I know somebody's going to ask, so when I said, I don't look at the books, and everybody's like, well, they made them for a reason, right? And they absolutely did. And again, sometimes when I first get a deck, I will browse through the book and, see if there's keywords, or as I go through each card, I will look it up and go, okay, this is what the author meant it to be or illustrated it to be. But here's the thing is you have to understand that card deck was created by that author off of their own emotional feelings and attachments to the symbolism in the card through their universal language. If the rose means to them love and a rose means to me a funeral, then when I pull that card, if I try and use that symbol to be a love thing, right? Or marriage or whatever it meant to the author, I'm going against my own connection to my own intuition. So use it the way that you see it. But again, I kind of sometimes will look at the book to go, okay, I get the gist of what the meaning of this card was. And oftentimes the illustration, I mean, if it's a card that's got a lot of celebration and flowers and people smiling and, all that kind of stuff, it's usually a really good celebration card, right? And it's just going to be, what do the little symbols within it designate to you in that reading, what that celebration signifies. Hopefully that makes sense. The last one I want to talk about is gypsy cards or regular old playing cards. Cartomancy, I love it. And I recently added to my shop the learner's deck because I feel like there's a lot of people that really love working with cards, but don't want to have a big deck of tarot cards in their purse all the time, right? Or if they're sitting at, and this is the reason that it came out to me and I did this, was because when a friend of mine came to me and said, you read regular cards, regular playing cards, right? And I said, yes, I absolutely do. And they said, can you write something down for me to tell me what each one's supposed to mean? And I said, well, very much like tarot, in gypsy cards, I call them, they're often called gypsy cards, but regular playing cards, when you're reading regular playing cards, each of the cards will have a designated meaning, okay? From no matter what's on the face of the card, right? If you have a card that's colorful or just plain old, blue back cards from Las Vegas, I don't know. The Five of Diamonds is going to always mean the same thing. The Five of Diamonds means the same thing in every single deck that you would read. Five of Diamonds always means the same thing. Six of Clubs always means the same thing. The Red Joker always means the same thing, right? So anybody can have a deck of cards at any time. To have a deck of cards in your purse, right? So she said, I would like to be doing readings when I'm sitting, she travels a lot, when I'm sitting in the airport. But I don't want to pull out tarot cards. I don't want to pull out oracle cards first because they're bigger and bulkier, because I don't want to lose them. And basically, I don't want people looking at me not because she's worried like, oh, what are people thinking? But people would approach her and say, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Can you do a reading for me? And she's like, I just want people to think I'm playing with cards. That was her reasoning for learning just regular old playing cards. I said, absolutely. So I created an entire learner's deck for her, which has handwritten, this is what the Five of Clubs means, right? And then it comes with, if you get them in the shop, you get the deck with, I handwrite on every single deck that I send out every single time. Because I do it during ritual, right? So, and then it also comes with a guide on how to read cards and some tips and tricks and a sneak peek sheet, So when you don't want the ones that are handwritten, you can go to a regular plain deck and you can have a cheat sheet to go back and look at and anything. But so those are gypsy cards, right? So again, you're going to have certain meanings, kind of like tarot or oracle. When you are put out your cards, 1, 2, 3, or you have 6 cards or 9 card spread or whatever it is, you can use all the spreads for all the different types of cards. But again, you just have to make sure that the position is known before you pull your card. So those are the different types of cards: tarot, oracle, angel, gypsy. There's Lemron cards. Again, there's T cards. There's all kinds of different ones. But really, again, you're using your intuition when it comes to the cards. And it is allowing yourself to open up with any form of divination. It's allowing yourself to open up and stepping aside out of the way so that your higher self and spirit can come together. Your spirit team can come together to direct what it is and the energy that's coming through, right? So if you lay out your oracle cards and you pick one, or you shuffle through them and you pick one, that is your higher self and spirit telling you this is the one to pick. Okay. So again, divination forms are amazing. Make sure you go over to the witchfulways.com, hit that free resources page, because I know there is sigil stuff. There's all kinds of information over there. And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, please, I hope that you follow me on Facebook and that you jump into my Manifesting a Magical Life Facebook group, because we go over all of these different things as well. So this was a little bit longer of a podcast, but I wanted to kind of go over the different divination forms, because I know a lot of people are becoming very interested in all the different ways that you can use and modalities to use. You can even use regular dice, right? To be able to divine with just 3, right? Pull out 3 of your Yahtzee dice and use those to divine as well. Because divination forms can be a lot of fun. And again, you can use them to connect in so many different ways with your higher self, your own spirit guides, and your own spirit team, as well as finding stuff that you've misplaced, making decisions for future, or for what are we going to have for dinner even, and so many. And if you do readings for other people, of course, you can try out new and different ways to see how the information comes through to you. And with that, thank you for joining me again for another podcast episode. Be sure that you head over to witchfulways.com so that you can check out that free resources page and get your hands on all the witchy goodness that's over there. Lots of guides and mini courses that are available to you free. And you can also check out all the other witchy offerings I have going on. Have a wonderfully magical rest of your day. Until next time.